Hey, wonderful. I'm so glad that you're here with me again today. I wanted to talk to you about mindset. And your mindset is basically your set of beliefs about something. Well, what do you believe about endometriosis? And you may say it's not a belief, it's a fact. So one of the beliefs that I held on to for a very long time was it's incurable and there's no cause for it. And it turned out my belief, my mindset around endo, my mindset about endo was actually a little bit off. But how did I get there? I may have gotten there the same way that you've gotten there. Like, you get diagnosed. I was diagnosed at 22, but I've been living with the disease very actively since I was 13 years old. And I just hadn't had anybody believe me. So at 22, I get a diagnosis in what was one of the worst medical appointments of my life. And maybe someday in the future, we'll talk about that. But I was told my only option was to get a hysterectomy at age 22. That was a no-go for me. So my first mindset kind of locked in at that point. Well, really it was my second, because my first mindset was that there was something terribly wrong with me that no one was going to find until I died. Not the best mindset, but I don't think it's unfamiliar to a lot of people with endometriosis, especially with endometriosis at a young age when it's truly an invisible disease. My second mindset was, I'm not getting no hysterectomy. Like, I didn't appreciate being told that at age 22. I wasn't ready to make that decision. So for a year, I held on to the mindset that even though I was being told my only option was hysterectomy, I was going to find another solution. My mindset was locked on. I was super focused. I looked at every resource I could find, and I eventually found a surgeon who told me something different. He said I didn't have to have a hysterectomy, that I could have laparoscopic surgery and removal of adhesions, and that he was really accomplished at doing this. I hoped so, because I had just paid him a whole lot of money and I was about to pay a whole lot more. Within a week, I was having my first surgery, and when I woke up, my surgeon shifted my mindset again. I overheard him talking to my mother, and he was telling my mom that endo acts like cancer. Mindset shift. Suddenly, I didn't have this benign but very painful disease. Instead, I thought of it as eating me away from the inside. Well, turns out I wasn't so wrong. I had lesions everywhere, and he hadn't been able to accomplish everything he'd hoped to during my surgery. He recommended that I have another. Again, I decided that's not for me. I'm not going to do that right now. And I didn't. I suffered for years. Not 4 years, but 4 years. And eventually decided to have another surgery. Well, once you're on that surgery treadmill, honey, it does not stop. So surgery after surgery, after surgical error, after surgery, after surgery, after repair, after surgery. Eventually, I went through renal failure. And somewhere in renal failure, I finally experienced another mindset shift. And that shift became, there has to be more than this. There has to be an answer that I'm not finding. After going through renal failure, I learned about nutrition. I learned about stress. I learned about stress management. My entire world got blown apart, and I had to put it together. And I had a lot of questions I had to ask myself. And one of the first questions I had to ask myself was, why didn't I look for other answers earlier? It wasn't that I wasn't being presented with other answers. I definitely went to acupuncturists. I mean, I lived in an acupuncturist office for a while and tried other modalities, but I never stuck with anything, and I was never really willing to change myself to treat how the disease was showing up for me. Now, I will never say that what works for me will work for you. What caused your endometriosis is also probably a little different than what caused mine. But if we can agree that a mindset shift of there are answers for us, and we get to make those decisions, and we are actually the experts of our own experience, not our doctors, not our families, not our friends, not even another person with endo, then we've made a mindset shift that opens up the world. So that's my challenge to you today, wonderful. Decide to make the mindset shift. Simply consider the possibility that there are answers for you, and that what worked for me might not work for you, but there's something that'll work for you. That's it for today, and I'll talk to you soon.